For my paper, I chose Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's disease is a progressive nervous system disorder. Knowledge of this disease extends from 1817, where James Parkinson gave the earliest description of Parkinson's disease. Jean-Martin Charcot expanded on this knowledge and renamed the shaking palsy as Parkinson's disease in honor of James Parkinson. Frederick Lewy discovered Lewy bodies and their association with Parkinson's disease. Arvid Carlsson identified the underlying biochemical changes in the brain associated with PD and proposed that Parkinson's disease is caused by the degeneration of dopamine-containing cells in the basal ganglia of the brain. Olay discovered that those who had died with the disease had low levels of dopamine in the basal ganglia of the brain, thus linking low levels of dopamine to the disease. Parkinson's disease mainly affects movement, including stiffness of joints, shaking, and resting tremors. Individuals with Parkinson's disease may experience difficulty with walking, coordination, and balance. Symptoms of the disease progress and worsen over time. They usually start on one side of the body and eventually become bilateral. Usually, symptoms start off as mild and go unnoticed. Epidemiology of Parkinson's disease. The cause of the disease is unknown but is associated with genetic and environmental factors. Parkinson's disease is a multifactorial disorder. Genes can contribute, however, only some are hereditary. Most can be caused by gene mutations. Environmental factors can also contribute to the onset of Parkinson's disease. Most cases of Parkinson's disease are sporadic, meaning that they are scattered and isolated. Parkinson's disease is the second most common degenerative neurological disorder after Alzheimer's disease. Prevalence of Parkinson's disease. 60,000 Americans are diagnosed each year with the disease. More than 10 million people worldwide are living with the disease. Males are 1.5 times more likely to develop Parkinson's disease than their female counterparts. A study estimated that 930,000 people in the United States will be living with this disease by this year. This number is predicted to rise to 1.2 million within the next decade. 5 to 10% of Parkinson's disease cases are linked to genetic factors. Parkinson's disease affects 1 or 2 individuals out of 100 of the population at any given time. PD affects about 1% of the population over the age of 60. About 4% of all cases of Parkinson's disease are diagnosed before the age of 50. PD prevalence is increasing with age, regardless of gender. Pathology of Parkinson's disease. A set of genes have emerged, and a mutation of those genes have been associated with Parkinson's disease. These mutations account for more than 50% of early onset of Parkinson's disease and about 2 to 3% of late onset of the disease. The first gene mutation that was linked to Parkinson's disease is the mutation of alpha-synuclein. It is encoded by the SINCA-PARK1 gene. Alpha-synuclein is an abundant protein in the brain, concentrated at the tips of neurons. It is responsible for the release of chemicals between neurons, including the release of dopamine. Dopamine pathways in the brain are responsible for motor control as well as motivation and reward systems. Low levels of dopamine can lead to a decline in motor skills and onset of symptoms associated with Parkinson's disease. Normally, alpha-synuclein is a wavy-like structure in the brain. However, with PD, this protein misfolds, forming a toxic lump. If left untreated, it can accumulate and form a large mass called a Lewy body. Lewy bodies are associated with cell death and can be linked to the degeneration of dopamine neurotransmitters in the brain. Pathology of PD continued. There are other gene mutations linked to the onset of PD, such as mutation of the protein D-glycase, which is encoded by the PARK7 gene, mutations of S35 vacuolar protein sorting, and mutations of GBA1, which is glucocerebrosidase. These mutations can inhibit processes of dopamine neurotransmitters in the brain, affect dopamine metabolism, cause oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, endoplasmic reticulum stress, impairment of protein degradation, and neural inflammation. Symptoms of Parkinson's disease. The motor system symptoms include resting tremors, slowness of movement, meaning walking slowly, maybe stumbling occasionally, limb stiffness, trouble with balance, difficulty with coordination, bradykinesia, difficulty with completing simple tasks, and postural abnormalities. The neurological symptoms of PD are anxiety and depression, loss of mental sharpness, insomnia, vivid dreams, daytime sleepiness, constipation, impaired bladder control, drooling, impaired taste and swallowing, blood pressure changes, vision problems and dizziness, slurred and slow speech, hallucinations, gastrointestinal issues, generalized discomfort, including body aches and excessive sweating, and if exposed to the disease for a course of a few years, the individual with the disease can get dementia. Diagnosis of Parkinson's disease is difficult. There are no definitive tests currently to diagnose the disease. Doctors will look at medical history, symptoms, and perform both neurological and physical examinations of an individual suspected of having PD. Additional tests like blood work can also be utilized to rule out other disorders. Imaging tests such as MRI, CT, ultrasounds, and PET scans can be utilized to rule out other diseases and disorders. The initial process of diagnosing a person with PD is quite a bit of guesswork because there are no definitive tests for diagnosing the disease. Currently, there is no cure for Parkinson's disease. However, there are several types of treatment. One type of treatment includes drug therapy. However, drug therapy is usually not recommended or used unless necessary, meaning the disease is incapacitating for the individual. With drug therapy, there can be numerous side effects with medication and loss of effectiveness of the drug over time. Common medications for PD patients include carbidopa-levodopa, which is a combination of levodopa and carbidopa, which carbidopa protects levodopa from early conversion to dopamine outside of your brain and prevents or lessens side effects of the medication, such as nausea. Effectiveness of this medication can wear off over time. Side effects of this medication include nausea and lightheadedness. Another common medication for PD patients include dopamine agonists. Dopamine agonists aren't as effective but do last longer, unlike levodopa. They don't convert into dopamine. Instead, they mimic dopamine effects in your brain. Side effects of dopamine agonists include hallucinations, sleepiness, and compulsive behaviors such as eating, gambling, etc. Another type of treatment for PD includes surgical intervention. The most common would be deep brain stimulation, which involves surgeons implanting electrodes into a specific part of your brain. Electrical pulses are sent along the electrodes that are connected to a generator implanted in your chest near the collarbone. These electrical pulses may reduce the symptoms of the disease. This type of procedure is usually held off to those who don't respond well to medication or people with advanced onset of the disease. Deep brain stimulation can stabilize medication fluctuations, reduce tremors, rigidity, and improve mobility of an individual with the disease. Although deep brain stimulation may help reduce symptoms of the disease, it does not keep the disease from progressing further. Another type of treatment for patients with Parkinson's disease includes lifestyle changes and home remedies. Lifestyle changes would include healthy eating, so eating foods high in fiber with omega-3 fatty acids and drinking lots of waters. Exercise, which would include walking, swimming, gardening, and so on. And another one would be avoiding falls, so avoid carrying things while walking or not walking backwards would also really help with PD. Alternative medicines such as massage, tai chi, yoga, meditation, and pet therapy can also help with the onset of Parkinson's disease and reduce the symptoms you see associated with Parkinson's disease. And here's my references. If you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks for watching.